Well, hi, Arlon. Thanks for joining me here at the community campus in Portsmouth. Been the home of David Krempel's Brain Injury Center for over 2 decades. So thanks for making the drive down. Folks, I'm here with Arlon Chafee.
Chafee.
Arlon Chafee, the logistical operations wizard behind the King Challenge and founded the ride.
Co-creator with Ted King, as a matter
Right.
of fact.
Right. So what year, remind us?
Let's see. In 2010, I believe it was, I attended a evening with Ted King at Exeter Cycles, right over here in Exeter, New Hampshire. And he got to talking about how meaningful the Krempel Center was in his dad's life. And I made the connection, and I'm an event promoter, so I got a hold of Ted and said, hey, you're peanut butter, my chocolate. How about we put on a ride to raise some money for Krempel Center? And he said, absolutely. So that was the genesis of it. And we held our first event in 2011. So we're on year 13 now, I guess, of the ride itself. But that's the background. All started from a happenstance. Just I happened to go see Ted talk at Exeter Cycles about what it meant to be a pro rider, and he was underscoring the importance of the Krempel Center connection and his dad's involvement here, and how it was very meaningful to him and his family.
Great. So, I mean, the ride was born purely just from two good folks wanting to honor another good person, Ted's dad here, and a center that helped him, and we're so grateful for that. Our current members look forward to this ride every single year. There is a component where the members can participate. We'll talk about shortly, but we're just so grateful that it exists. And we interviewed Teddy already, as you know, and Ted has revealed to the audience that it's his last year as a formal participant in the event, and also.
It's my last year as well. Actually, it's my last year, because last year was technically going to be my last year. I'm retired elsewise, and I have young grandchildren and phases of life. I was ready to move on. The ride itself is in capable hands, and I'm sure it will be successful into the future. But when I announced that last year was my last year, Ted was like, darn, I was thinking the same thing. And so I chatted with him, and when he said 2024 was going to be his last official year with the ride, I said, hey, I'll come back one more time.
Great.
And let's go out together. So I'm really happy that it's going to work out that way.
Yeah. Well, we're so thankful to have you back for this last year as you hand off. So the KBIC team, myself included, will be taking over back-end management of the ride and, of course, keeping it going. But why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the details of putting on such a massive, wonderful event?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the end product is the day, and you really have to begin with the end product in mind. So we try to establish a kind of vibe and experience for all the participants, including the Krempel Center members who participate in the Doc King Adaptive Tour, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So. But in order to get there, there's many steps along the way, and it's kind of a sausage factory. Viewers probably don't want to know all the ins and outs, but you have to think about things like porta potties, all the important stuff. Where are people going to park? What's the party going to look like afterwards? Oh, we're going to need food. Well, they're going to want to drink something. Cyclists like beer, don't they? So you have to organize all that, and then on the marketing and sponsorship side, that falls squarely into KBIC's lap. But there's an integration there too to make sure that the sponsors are getting what they're looking for as far as exposure and also experience, and where we can, mission alignment with KBIC. So there's a lot of logistics that are involved. As a for instance, I traditionally start next year's event in the case of some things like we talked about booking the tent for next year's event. I'll book that in the month or so after this year's event.
Right.
Other things I can leave till later, but you really have to think about all the towns that you're passing through, make sure the towns are cool with it, the police department knows what's going on. Make sure that you've got your venue lined up. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm not looking for pity for all that work that goes in, because the payoff literally and figuratively, is that day. And for me, when I'm standing there in front of the start arch looking at 300 or so riders just ready to have an absolutely fun time on their bikes, be entertained, and come back and have a celebration at the end. To me, it's like I take that mental snapshot every year and savor it because that's it. And for KBIC, I would imagine it's the same thing because there's a lot of work on your part to bring the event to fruition as well. And when you see the riders lining up, or the Docking Adaptive Tour with Krempel Center members actually participating in a ride around the venue space, or you take a look at the beer garden where everyone's hanging out and everyone's laughing and yucking it up. Silent auction, people are standing around that table helping to support it. So the day's the payoff, and there's a lot of work. Worth it? Definitely.
Yeah, so worth it. And I think KBIC learned that so quickly on in that first year. What did you guys say you raised in the first year?
$66,000, and there was a question mark. We had to go before the board and explain what we wanted to do, and it wasn't reluctance. It's more like, okay, show us. And when we generated $66,000 in that first year of the ride, and I forget the rider count, but I'm going to say 100, 125. There and then, it was decided, yes, KBIC likes this event. And it's like, good, because we do too.
Yeah.
So we made it an annual thing. But for 2020 with COVID, we've held it in person every year, and it continues to grow. So that's exciting. Yeah,
we're so thrilled that the event was a success in its format, and that we're going to keep it moving forward. So now the event's raised over $1 million. I think it's almost over $1.2 million.
Right.
In these past years. So going on to year 14, which is this year, and why I'm doing these interviews is exactly the reason you talked about. The day of is the payoff, but we want to let people know all of the reasons that we do this. So obviously it supports KBIC financially. It supports our members getting out there and feeling like they can participate in something that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. And it supports the riders. This is a really, really unique ride. So it's an opportunity for those participating in this fundraiser, because it is a charity ride. We ask that everybody participates in that sense. Peer-to-peer fundraisers work great for nonprofits, and like we just said, it does prove itself every year in supporting KBIC. But it's a ride that you wouldn't get in really any other venue or situation, in a for-profit ride or a race.
Right. It's got a certain feel to it, whether it's the venue. Timberland has supported us in Stratham for our staging of the event since year one. The riders have come to expect, while they're out there, that they're going to be well taken care of, whether it's the moto lead outs or the rolling ambassadors or the tech support that they get at each of the rest stops where maybe they're having a problem with their chain or their brakes. We've got somebody there that can look after it for them. I guess one of the highlights is the group rest stop for the intermediate and long distance rides is at New England Dragway, and riders have a chance to get a grilled peanut butter and bacon sandwich. This was a huge hit. We did peanut butter and fluff in years past for Ted's suggestion, but the interest in that never really waned. But I can tell you from an infrastructure standpoint, I'd get done at the end of the ride and everything was was covered in fluff, and it's like, love to treat you riders, but man, this is a pain in the backside. So peanut butter and bacon's a whole lot easier. They love that. There's a hydration stop out midway through the long route that features, one year it was a ukulele orchestra. It's kind of settled down into a jazz combo playing for them there, and it's in the shade. And that time of year, we're in the early mid-October time range. Foliage is just popping. Right. And we have riders who come from not all over New England, but from outside of the region, and they've not seen the Mother Nature's display before. And if you go through our photo albums, which are on our the King Challenge Facebook page from years past, you can see like every year it's a bonanza.
Yeah.
So, and particularly for Ted, when he was in the early years, when he was traveling internationally, he really looked forward to it because it said, "This is New England, this is home." So, that time of year, and the temperatures have started to moderate, so it's not super hot like today.
Right.
Can we tell people that it's 94 degrees out there and 100%?
Maybe 96.
Yeah, we are air conditioned in here, thankfully, but it's even warm in here.
Yes.
So, but by October, ride conditions are terrific, and we've been blessed. Knock wood. Most years have been sunny.
Yeah.
Last year was rainy, but that was first one
one.
in memory. We had showers one year. Like there was a little shower just before the big group came in. Everyone came in wet. Then the sun came out and it was warm and everybody was laughing. So
Right.
And even last year in the rain, we still had good turnout. It's like people support the ride. They support KBIC because they want to be there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the messages we really want to get across to the audience is that the ride is open for pretty much every skill set.
Yep.
Every type of rider. It's a safe route for mountain bikes, for e-bikes, for road cycles.
Yep.
You get a great mix of flats, hills. You get ocean vistas. You get foliage. There's even a little small gravel section.
Yeah, we have a honorary gravel section back when Teddy was racing Paris-Roubaix, which is a ride that's kind of mixed surface. As an homage to that, and also because I needed to extend a route, and it's like, hey, I'll try Cartland Road. Easily in my mind, and I've ridden a lot of gravel, one of the most pristine gravel roads in New Hampshire. So people ride it on road bikes all the time. But to back up, when you said all skill levels, we do have the family route, which is 12 miles. It's varied between 12 and 15 miles each year. So we find a lot of families will bring younger kids. You get kids that are in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade who are they're ready to do a 10, 15 mile ride, and they come back and they are so pumped. So we've got that distance. We get an intermediate distance of about 30 miles and a long distance of 60 miles. And that's subject to change, but in those parameters, something for everybody. And when you come back, you're treated to food and drink. We have a climbing wall, any number of things, face painting some years, temporary tattoos. We had a bicycle skills clinic that we ran for kids. And let's not forget the Doc King Adaptive Tour. Would you like to talk about that, Terry?
We do need to talk about the Doc King Adaptive Tour. So this is the opportunity that KBIC members get to participate in. So every member at KBIC is a survivor of some sort of acquired brain injury. And the Adaptive Tour is this opportunity for them to participate in their own race that meets all skill levels and all disabilities. So the adaptive cycles are provided by our partners over at Northeast Passage, another Seacoast nonprofit. And they may be three-wheeled, they may be recumbent, they may be trailer style where the person in the back can help push on the hills and so on, where you both have pedals.
I think there's some hand cycles
There
too.
are some hand cycles, absolutely, for those that have more arm strength and leg strength. Exactly. So it's held on site while the main ride is out.
Yeah, the route riders are out, and we conduct two separate heats, so everybody gets a chance to ride. And the something that was introduced by our announcer a few years ago was athletes introduction. So after both heats are done and most of the route riders are back and enjoying their after ride celebration, we really want to highlight the members and their some of their passions. One of which being they've chosen to ride in the Doc King Adaptive Tour. So we have an athlete's introduction where each of the members who've ridden in the DCAT, Doc King Adaptive Tour, gets introduced, and we usually have a little bio about them, and there's rounds of applause. It's a really, the riders love it, the members love it. It's just it's a great way to kind of say, this is KBIC, this is our day.
Yeah, and the day is so important to making sure those members get the service that is KBIC. I mean, so seeing sort of the fruits of your labor as a rider, you've done the ride, you've fundraised for our mission,
Yeah.
and then you see these members enjoying their life after brain injury because of something that you've contributed to. It's a really, really meaningful event.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the future because this is my last year and Ted's last year, but it's not the last year for the King Challenge. And we believe, all of us, that we've set the event, the ride up for future success. But it's really incumbent on the community and ridership and participants. There's so many different ways that you can participate in the King Challenge and support the Krempel's Brain Injury Center. So I guess this is my, parting plea, if you will. Although I will say, it occurred to me in one of my 2 a.m. epiphanies, hey, I could ride it next year.
Right. And have you ever ridden it?
No. I'm there at 4:30 in the morning,
Yep.
with a headlamp on,
Yep.
making sure the porta potties are open and getting ready. It's like, that's my life.
Right.
So next year, where it's going to be operated by KBIC staff and friends, it's like I could ride it.
Yeah.
So.
Which must be a really exciting prospect.
Yeah, and I think Ted hasn't ruled out riding it sometime again in the future as well. It's just as far as active involvement in the production of the event, all that stuff that comes before the day, which is significant on both of our parts. That's the part that we'll be leaving behind. Our affinity for KBIC and our support for its mission isn't diminished. Yeah. So there will still be support coming from us in various ways, including, like I said, the R-Man may saddle up.
And I think that call to action is perfect. That's exactly what all the folks need to hear. What we've committed to keeping this ride going, but it does depend on ridership. It depends on your support, your participation, and showing us that we need to keep it going, not only for what it does for the members, but to support the riding community out there.
Right. And I think, rightly or wrongly, we've marketed against, any kind of elitism or whatever. There are some very strong riders there, but I'm here to tell you, in the main, these are just cycling enthusiasts, and we've got a full spectrum of people. Like you mentioned, mountain bikes. We've had, kids do the family ride on mountain bikes. It's for everybody.
For sure.
The event is for everybody, and I think that's the message that really needs to be spread is you can do this. And in our personal conversations, you've committed to reaching out, to broaden that community. And I think that's the key to the future success of the King Challenge, is making sure everybody knows that it's a doable event, and come on along, try us.
Yeah, try it and you definitely won't regret it. I'm actually excited to ride the event someday.
Yeah.
I've yet to do it myself, but I have ridden the course.
Right.
And off of the day of it, and it's a stunning course.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And really nothing better than it on the Seacoast. You really put together some perfect roads.
Yeah, and the beauty is that we try to stick to kind of rural roads that are less traveled, so you're not dealing with as many traffic issues, et cetera. I mean, here we are. KBIC is centered in Portsmouth. It's the Seacoast. The obvious would be, hey, let's head down, 1A to the ocean, and that's very challenging riding. We work pretty hard. We're Stratum, so we're slightly inland. That's where we're headquartered for the King Challenge ride, but we work, pretty hard to keep our routes away from the Seacoast and all that traffic. And it also offers the riders a chance to kind of take in the scenery and enjoy what they've got. So I think it's a winner.
For sure.
And success, I guess, has proven that over the years. And we look forward to it continuing.
Yeah. So that's our message for you all today, is that the King Challenge is moving forward. It will continue on supporting KBIC. We do have the departure of both Arlon and Ted, our founders, but with their blessing, we're keeping the ride going. And we want all of you to come this year and participate, because it's the last time that Arlon will be putting it on in the background. It's the last time that Teddy will be out front leading the entire pack. and it's going to be probably one of our best rides.
I'm
Year 14.
certainly hoping so. We'd love to go out. Ted and I would love to go out with a bang. We wish every success for the future, but come on out, ride with us at the 2024 King Challenge. Thank you.
We'll see you October 12th. Thanks so much.